Once hailed as the economic miracle of the 21st century, China now finds itself engulfed in a multifaceted crisis. Catastrophic floods have swept through Sichuan, Hunan, Yunnan, and Henan, obliterating homes, crops, and livelihoods, while exposing deep fractures in the nation's economic, social, and political fabric. Beneath the polished veneer of Communist Party propaganda, a grim reality emerges. Millions have lost their means of survival, lives have been swept away by raging waters, and public trust in the government is crumbling like fragile dikes under the weight of nature's fury. The Three Gorges Dam, once a celebrated symbol of engineering prowess, now looms as a ticking time bomb threatening millions downstream. Meanwhile, growing discontent, from farmers who lost their harvests to students deceived by a faltering job market, paints a picture of a nation grappling with natural disasters, economic decline, and social unrest. As the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, appears to conceal unspoken truths, the question looms, can China weather this storm, or will it sink deeper into crisis? Devastating floods and uncontrollable wrath. In late June and early July 2025, China endured record-breaking rainfall that transformed entire provinces into vast floodplains. In Sichuan, the Min and Jinsha rivers faced their highest flood peaks of the season. At 6 p.m. on June 30th, water levels at Xiangjiaba in Yibin, where the rivers converge to form the Yangtze, reached 267 meters, with peak flood flows exceeding 20,000 cubic meters per second, M3S. The Three Gorges Reservoir, the final bulwark of the Yangtze River system, faced unprecedented pressure. By 2 p.m. on July 2nd, water levels at the dam reached 152 meters, 7 meters above the designated flood control level, with inflow rates hitting 30,000 cubic meters per second, while outflow was limited to 20,400 cubic meters per second, placing downstream areas at severe risk of flooding. In Yunnan, Yun County and Lincang City was submerged in just over 10 minutes on July 2nd. A local resident recounted in despair, "The floodwater came like an ocean, 2 to 3 meters deep. Everything vanished in an instant, cars, possessions, everything swept away. This morning, I stepped outside, and water was everywhere." Hunan, in central China, suffered its worst flooding since 1998. The Li River, a key tributary of the Dongting Lake system, saw water levels at the Tongjiangkou station reach 262 meters, exceeding the safety threshold by 2.38 meters, with a terrifying flow rate of 7,300 cubic meters per second. Over 310 reservoirs in counties like Xiamen and Yuanling teetered on the brink of overflow. Dams such as Shangnan, Dongmen, and Sanjiang were forced to release massive volumes of water to save themselves, submerging downstream communities in the process. Henan was not spared. Areas like Shixia in Nanyang and Luoyang reported severe damage. A Henan resident shared, 5 people died and 8 are missing in Xixia. The Longyuan tourist area in Luoyang was devastated. Buses, cars, and guest houses swept away. Chengdu, Sichuan's capital, endured its heaviest rainfall on record on July 3rd. Dozens of roads were submerged, paralyzing traffic. Chengdu's East Railway Station was flooded, its ceiling leaking like a water curtain cave. A resident lamented. The rain poured like it was falling from the heavens, water reaching my waist. I grew up in Sichuan, but I've never seen rain this terrifying. Satellite imagery revealed Sichuan's basin shrouded in dense rain clouds, with hourly rainfall exceeding 50 millimeters and daily totals reaching 350 millimeters, equivalent to 1,000 West Lakes, pouring into the region in a single day. The human cost, lives, livelihoods, and trust, washed away. The floods are not merely natural disasters, but profound human tragedies. In Hunnan's Ximen County, bustling markets have been reduced to waterlogged ruins. Ms. Chen, a fruit vendor, choked back tears. In just 1 hour, the flood swept away goods worth 800,000 yuan. We borrowed heavily to stock up, and now we're left with nothing but debt and despair. A major supermarket, World of Fruits, reported losses exceeding 1.5 million yuan, with all goods and equipment destroyed. Its owner said, "We worked day and night to save what we could, but the flood was too powerful. Now we face only debt and an uncertain future." In Yuanling County, Hunan, a mother shared her anguish. "My son was swept away by the flood while trying to reach higher ground. We've searched for 3 days, but he's gone. I don't know how to go on." In Yunnan, entire villages were cut off. No electricity, no clean water, no roads. A resident posted a trembling video online. "The water rose for 2 days straight. We moved from the first floor to the third, but it kept coming. No one has come to help us." In Chengdu, floodwaters inundated Tianfeng Line 3 subway station, turning its underground parking lot into a lake that swallowed over 50 cars. A delivery worker in Jinyu district resorted to using a rubber boat to make deliveries, while residents barricaded doors to keep the water out. A Sichuan farmer said bitterly, "When it doesn't rain, crops die from drought. When it rains, it pours, washing away everything. How are we supposed to survive?" Estimates peg Hunnan's damages at over 2 billion yuan, with the poorest households facing decades of recovery. In Henan, tourist sites like Baiyun Mountain and Longyuan were obliterated, crippling the tourism industry. A Luoyang guest house owner said, "Everything was swept away, but at least we're alive. We'll face it, but the future is bleak." In Sichuan, the 2,280-year-old Dujiangyan irrigation system, which has long protected Chengdu, faced its largest flood peak of the year on July 1st, causing widespread urban flooding. A Fushun resident cried out, "Cars are half submerged. The water's like a boat carrying us away." Viral videos showed fish swimming outside windows, underscoring the disaster's severity. The Three Gorges Dam, a symbol of pride or a ticking time bomb. The Three Gorges Dam, an engineering marvel on the Yangtze River, was once a symbol of humanity's triumph over nature. In 2025, it has become a source of fear. Water levels at the Yong station near the dam reached 55 meters, 3 meters above the warning level, forcing emergency water releases that put downstream areas, including Wuhan with its 11 million residents, at risk of severe flooding. Professor Li Ying from Tsinghua University warned, "The dam was designed to withstand a once-in-a-century flood, but these rains exceed all predictions. If it fails, it would be a national catastrophe." Sediment accumulation has long been the dam's greatest threat. By 2023, nearly 2.1 billion tons of sediment had built up, with only 25.6% cleared. Dredging efforts have failed due to the reservoir's depth, over 100 meters, and risks of landslides. If unaddressed, sediment will continue to reduce the reservoir's capacity, threatening its flood control and power generation capabilities. Releasing sediment-laden water during the rainy season to ease pressure has worsened downstream flooding, as seen in the 2024 Honghu County dike breach that displaced thousands. Social media is rife with panic. If the Three Gorges Dam collapses, half of China will be underwater. Where do we go? Dongting Lake, once called the lungs of the Yangtze, is also in critical condition. Its surface area has shrunk from 4,200 square kilometers in 1949 to under 2,000 square kilometers due to land reclamation and sedimentation. Dikes built in the 1950s and 1970s are at risk of collapsing under flood pressure. Professor Dong Jianmin noted, Dongting Lake can no longer regulate floods or purify water. The Three Gorges Dam's practice of storing water in the dry season and releasing muddy water during the rainy season has destroyed the lake's ecosystem. Currently, 226 dikes around the lake struggle to hold back water, but many villages below the lake bed have already been submerged. A Honghu resident said, "The government built dikes but didn't maintain them. When the lake overflows, we're trapped like fish in a net." Economic and social crises. A generation's pain. The floods have deepened China's economic and social crises. In Shanghai, the resident population has dropped from 30 million to 25 million, with over 380,000 people leaving in a single month. Shopping malls stand empty, and once vibrant streets resemble ghost towns. A Shanghai blogger lamented, "Qibao Old Street is deserted. Cafes have no customers. Shanghai, once a dream destination, is now a city of disappointment." In Hunan, small businesses have been devastated. A Shaoyang shop owner shared, "We borrowed 800,000 yuan to run our business, but the flood took everything. Now we're left with debt and despair." The summer job crisis has further darkened the outlook. Students flocked to regions like Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Dongguan for work, only to face wages as low as 6 to 9 yuan per hour, or worse, scams by intermediaries. A Kunshan student recounted, "I was cheated out of 500 yuan in agency fees, but they didn't arrange any work. The job promised 20 yuan per hour, but it was only 6 yuan. A girl from Jiangxi walked until her feet blistered to earn money for her brother's shoes and her grandmother's dentures, only to be abandoned after paying a deposit. In Zhengzhou, hundreds of students were stranded, unable to afford the trip home, victims of fraudulent schemes. A Kunshan host, Chin Chin, shared, "Everywhere you look, students are dragging suitcases. Under overpasses, young people hide from the heat. They're charged for transportation, agency fees, even seat reservations, then abandoned." A high school graduate who couldn't afford college came to Kunshan to earn tuition, but found the factory had stopped hiring. She said optimistically, "There's work back home, like at a diner for 1,500 yuan a month." These stories reflect the harsh reality facing a generation grappling with a ruthless society. Public discontent with the CCP, secrets unraveled. Public frustration with the CCP is mounting as accusations of cover-ups and mismanagement spread. Reservoirs built in the 1950s and 1970s, dubbed Tofu projects, are collapsing under flood pressure. Dr. Chen Yi, an environmental scholar, revealed that over 3,500 reservoirs in Hunan are in dangerous condition, built not by engineers, but by farmers. Unannounced water releases have submerged downstream communities. A Yuanling resident posted online, "They came, took photos of relief efforts, and left us to drown." Charity drives are suspected of corruption, with many donating just 1 yuan, commenting, "Why give money to corrupt officials?" A Kunshan student declared, "Working summer jobs, I saw a society completely different from what my teachers described. Greedy, selfish, distrustful, hurting each other. The CCP is why this society is in chaos." Stories like a girl selling goods with an orange on her head to buy medicine or a father losing his son in the flood reflect deep despair. A Shanghai resident fumed, "They say everything's fine, but the streets are empty, shops are closed. We don't trust them anymore." Reports of manipulated official data to downplay the crisis fuel further skepticism. A blogger asked, "The CCP boasts Shanghai as a global metropolis, so why are the streets empty? Why are we forced to leave?" Root causes. Climate change and mismanagement. Climate change is a primary driver, increasing the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. Studies show that heavy rainfall events in China have risen by 10% over the past 60 years, directly contributing to flood risks. Sichuan, with over 3,700 hydropower plants and 8,200 reservoirs, is heavily impacted by water management projects. Experts like Fan Su from Sichuan's Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources note that since the Three Gorges Dam began storing water in 2003, local climates have shifted, with summers exceeding 40 degrees Celsius and colder winters. Rainstorms from 2004 to 2014 brought 100 to 250 millimeters of rain in 24 hours, shattering historical records. Rapid urbanization has worsened flooding. By 2024, over 60% of Sichuan's population lived in urban areas, where impermeable surfaces like concrete and asphalt replaced natural soil, reducing water absorption. In rural areas, vegetation degradation and desertification, 1.5 million hectares or 3% of Sichuan's land, have tripled the speed of flash floods. Poor infrastructure, such as failed sponge city projects and substandard urban drainage systems, has exacerbated the disaster. Some projects have not only failed but worsened flooding, as viral social media videos attest. A wake-up call for a nation on the brink. China in 2025 is a bleak tableau where floods, economic decline, and social unrest intertwine, creating a comprehensive crisis. Record-breaking rains in Sichuan, Hunan, Yunnan, and Henan have not only swept away property, but exposed deep flaws in CCP governance. The Three Gorges Dam, once a symbol of conquering nature, now threatens millions with the risks of overflow and sediment buildup. Meanwhile, citizens from rural farmers to urban students grapple with debt, unemployment, and loss. Heart-wrenching stories of lives lost, livelihoods destroyed, and trust shattered serve as a wake-up call for a nation teetering on the edge. Can the CCP confront these challenges, or will it continue to obscure the truth with empty promises? The Chinese people, from farmers toiling in fields to jobless students, await answers. Share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for the latest updates on this unfolding crisis. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for new content. Thank you for following.